Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. We are working off of the full moon in Capricorn and also awaiting some upcoming shifts next Monday. Definitely one of the bigger days of July where we're making a lot of shifts, planetary shifts, and going to be feeling the month of July really make a change, make a shift. We're going to have an opportunity this week to have communication in different ways. We're going to see our communication being opened up and things being aired out in different ways this week. So we had that full moon in Capricorn just yesterday. How was that for you? How was the full moon? That was definitely a grounding, a very weighted, somewhat in a way, a little heavier of a full moon. We have, of course, Saturn, the planet of Saturn, ruling the sign of Capricorn. And Saturn can be a little more serious. Saturn is definitely the father figure, a little more of that heavier, more responsible sort of energy. So with the Capricorn full moon, we can really lean into that sort of heavier, like what we are responsible for, things that we want to, take more responsibility for, or maybe things that, have come to their maximum expression, that you have been responsible for and are now needing to release. The full moon is, of course, the time of the month where we get that culmination point. We get that maximum expression, that maximum brilliance. And so the full moon in any sign is definitely a time of release. It's a time where we can have extra emotions. We can be, of course, the moon like rules our emotions and our mood. And so the mood can be really hot and big. And so we're still coming off of that. Here we have on July 4th, the moon is just really active this week. So I want to highlight some of the things that are going on with the moon throughout the day. So we have the moon in, as we are giving this report, just freshly a few hours into the sign of Aquarius, the sign of freedom and air and change and awakening and awareness and bringing things, your independence. Actually, Aquarius does very much represent independence. And so it's great that here on Independence Day, we have the moon in the sign of independence and freedom. And so the moon made a conjunction, which means they passed right over the moon. She passed over this planet of Pluto this morning at 9:45 a.m., moved into Aquarius at 10:30. And then we have not really much more action for the rest of the evening as far as the events of the skies go. And so we just get this really bright, fresh off of this brilliant full moon, but moved into another sign, moved into that next sign of Aquarius. So we've moved on from the mood of Capricorn and whatever that Capricorn energy was all about yesterday. And so now we get this fresh new energy with like kind of a big open space for the rest of the evening, which is just really beautiful for celebrating and, of course, expression. The full moon is more about expression. And so that should be a lot of fun. Moving into July 5th, we have the moon in a square to Jupiter early in the morning. This happens on the west coast of the United States, which I give all my times are all Pacific Coast times. This happens at 2:30 a.m. So, if you're still awake at 2:30 a.m., which a lot of people still could be after having fun on a holiday, I'm going to encounter a little bit of a shift to the mood. This could be be a little bit of a point where it's like almost like the ability to indulge and go big, which Jupiter represents, going big and emphasizing things, and really Jupiter being the largest planet in the solar system makes everything big, and so all of those big expressions can be a little bit hard to understand or to feel into or to even want to have around. So 2:30 a.m. definitely a little change to the mood as the moon makes a square to Jupiter. And then at 9:30 on July 5th in the morning, we have Mercury making a square to Chiron. And I see this as really beautiful healing communication. A square can be challenging, but it's also a good opportunity to take a step up and learn a lesson and to learn something. And then later on in the day, we have another square. So Wednesday is like looking to be like kind of a little bit of a learning day. It's like a day that we could run into some challenges. At 9:30 in the evening, the moon then squares Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of the sign of Aquarius. It rules the sign of Aquarius. And the moon is in Aquarius and then kind of squaring off to that sign's ruling planet, which could be just a little tough. It could be, kind of an end to that vibe, a little bit of a turning point to that, free, open energy that there's just, but, when the moon makes aspects, it's just really a quick, aspect anyway. So a little bit of a change to the mood that night. And then July 6th, the moon makes an opposition with Venus and Mars, which are both sitting really close together in the last degrees of Leo. Venus is at about 23 degrees. Mars is at about 27. And so the moon making opposition is directly across the zodiac. And this creates an energy that's like a push and a pull. It's like it sounds. It's an opposition. They're opposing each other. And so when two things oppose each other, it's like they're not really getting along, or they're not like seeing things eye to eye. So, this is early in the morning, again, overnight, but for people on the other side of the planet, they're awake and roaming around while this is happening. This is like a mood where, we're not like feeling the closeness. I've been really watching these, Venus and Mars, these two, trot along together, at sunset down into the horizon. And it's felt really, really sweet. But yeah, over the evening with the moon making an opposition, again, we're going to be, everyone's probably going to be sleeping for that. But then right in the morning at 8:45, we have Mars making a quincunx to the planet of Neptune. And I don't talk about quincunxes very much because I am still learning about them. But one thing I do know is that they're highly irritable. They create irritable feelings. And this is the planet of Mars, which is already kind of impatient and irritable already. And Neptune is hot in the sky right now because Neptune just stationed retrograde just last week. And so Neptune is really strong right now, and Neptune can create confusion on its own. So I see like Thursday morning, July 6th is like kind of an irritable, confusing morning and not really sure like about, making movement, how we should move, because Mars is like about making action. So what should we do? How should we do it? But this should clear up. But I guess I'm just saying, like, if you feel irritable, confused, unable to take action or on Thursday morning, that is a passing energy. But, if you can kind of wait it out, know that these energies are out there. That's kind of why I study astrology, is just to kind of know, okay, Thursday morning is going to be like one of those weird mornings where the communication is going to be a little off, not really sure, what steps to take. Could be just in one of those confused states, that's, just what's going on. And then at 10:30, we have the moon moving into Pisces, the water sign of Pisces. And this is a sweet energy. This is feminine energy. The moon is very feminine. And after the moon moves into Pisces on Thursday morning, later in the evening time, we have the moon making a conjunction with the planet of Saturn. Saturn is that Capricorn energy. So we could feel like a little more of that full moon energy kind of come out again later in the week on Thursday as the moon makes a conjunction there with the ruling planet of that full moon. So it could kind of re-spark things like anything that was going on. This is kind of a serious vibe. This is where we want to like take responsibility for something. We get serious about something. We become ambitious. Maybe on Thursday evening, one way to kind of work off that steam or work off the irritability, is to do something that makes you feel really responsible, and you can use that ambitious energy. But very shortly after that, we have Mercury making a sextile. I mean, this is all basically happening at the same time on Thursday night. Mercury making a sextile to the planet of Uranus. And Mercury is our communication. Mercury is our mind. This is where our mind is, and Mercury is traveling very, very quickly right now. Just zipping through the zodiac, moving along through the sign of Cancer. And so Mercury is, a very sensitive communicator right now in Cancer, but very willing, really good with these intimate relationships. Cancer is really good with intimate relationships. So we kind of have this ability to reach into some intimate communication that may be very awakening, Uranus, which may be able to kind of spark things. Uranus is very electric. So if we need to be like kind of, shocked into something, this is where we could have like kind of a shocking, communication. But I feel like it's not going to be like bad. It's going to be like a good communication that's like going to kind of make something happen. Uranus is in Taurus right now. So not super happy there. So hopefully it's like a really grounded Taurus-like sort of communication, that comes in from Uranus there. So, Thursday, kind of an interesting day for sure. And then moving to July 8th, we've got the moon making a trine to this Mercury. So we have a lot of Mercury action. This trines are just always really beautiful because they allow the energy to flow really freely. And it's considered like a really positive, benevolent, the trine is like a super benevolent, aspect. So, this is kind of nice for the very early morning. And then the moon makes a conjunction with Neptune right about the time people could be waking up at 8:22 a.m. on Saturday morning, July 8th. This is just like really dreamy. The moon and Neptune could definitely just bring in the mood to want to dream, to want to desire, to want to be in the mood to kind of be in that confused state. It's also like where, a lot of the science fiction and like just really imaginative stuff. So Saturday morning could be like a good morning to in just be super creative, or like watch a really like fantastical movie about fantastic things, or play music. Art is very much a thing that Neptune represents, just the arts. So Saturday morning, very dreamy, very ooey gooey, and could be a fun one to just kind of sit in and be super creative and artistic in and let it flow. Because then the moon makes a sextile to Pluto just a few hours later at 11:22 a.m. And that is going to be a little more of a harsh energy. This is like where we find endings. This is where things end. Pluto creates endings and then provides the option for that new beginning. And then about an hour later, the moon moves into Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So we are going to definitely by Saturday afternoon be wanting new things, be into trying new things and getting out and just starting things. That's what Aries energy is all about. And then on Sunday, July 9th, we bring in this Quincunx again. And that's why I thought that it would be good time just to bring it in, because it was going on this week. And this is like an irritable energy. This is like their five, or the Quincunx is when they are 5 signs apart, I believe. And so it's like all of these, in astrology, the trine, the square, the sextile, the Quincunx, they're all based on actual human sight. So you look straight across and that's the opposition, right? And then you look straight off to your side and that's the square. And then you've got like a good part to your vision off to the kind of like to the third, to the triangle, off to the, out to the thirds. And then there's these other blind spots, which is like the sign next to you, like kind of right next to you, somebody right over your shoulder. And then also, out in your vision too, there's like this blind spot. So that's where these kind of harsh aspects kind of come from, is actually kind of based on like our vision and what is the best way to like see things. And so this Quincunx comes in again on Sunday morning with Mars again making a Quincunx to Pluto. And I just talked about Pluto being all about endings. And this is also, where things just need to end, like where we need to burn it down to create something new. So it's healthy. It's healthy, Pluto, bringing in these endings, giving opportunity for these new beginnings. And then again, we get some Mercury and Neptune action. They are making a trine on Sunday afternoon, about 5 o'clock. And this is going to be more about our hopes, dreams, desires, and we're going to be communicating really well about them. Mercury, of course, is just going to be zipping along and going to be actually moving into a new sign on July 10th, moving into Leo. And Leo already houses Venus and Mars right now. But early in the morning on Monday, July 10th, Mars is going to be moving into Virgo. Virgo is the sign of making things clean again, the virgin, really like, it's like the temple, but it's also about service, and it's about how, it's about loving, serving your community, serving other people. Virgo is about, cleanliness and organization and planning and, making lists. And, Virgo is a really beautiful energy. It's an earth sign, so it's very grounding. This is where we can really grow some roots. Mars takes a little bit of time to move through each sign. And so Mars really does have an opportunity to kind of eat up the energy of where he is. And Virgo is a feminine sign, considered to be one of the feminine signs. Mars, being the very masculine planet, is always a little bit debilitated in feminine signs, but I don't want to say debilitated, but it's just kind of like, it's like the masculine guy kind of coming into the what is it called? The she shed, or backwards, if like the woman comes into the man cave or whatever, it's kind of like they're out of their element a little bit. Of course, that doesn't apply 100%. These are all just generalizations, that astrology is kind of based off of. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy in their charts and in their lives and in their person. And so when you have these mixes, it's like a yin and a yang. So you have the opportunity for that irritable kind of go-getter Mars energy to kind of calm down a little bit and like make some plans and like clean up the car a little bit and get things kind of in order and like, do all those Virgo things that are going to make him ready ready to move on again then through the zodiac. So early in the morning, July 10th, Mars moving into Virgo. And then later in the evening, Mercury moving into Leo. We also have the moon moving into Taurus that day. So this is a day of big change in the month of July. I see July 10th as like there's been some big things that have happened this week. It's already been a long month, and then all of these planetary changes happen and the energy shifts. Another thing that happens that day is we have, again, this fast-moving Mercury coming into an opposition with Pluto. Mercury has so much going on this week. That's why I kind of opened with this is like a week of big communication. This is definitely, there's messages coming through. Of course, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. And so whenever Mercury comes around and brings these messages, we need to be paying attention. And so pay attention this week to what's being said, what the messages are coming through, what's going on in your mind. Everything is very passing energy. So it's just things that we notice and we can use moving forward, and we can use to enhance our lives and live a more benevolent life. So enjoy it. Next week is another big week. We have the North and the South node moving into new signs, and we have a big T-square with Pluto and Mercury, which I just mentioned. And so we've got a big setup for next week for sure. And I will definitely be back to chat about that. And I hope you have a really great day. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.